Ironically, even though his entire business is the imagination business, he has yet to discover how to use his imagination as a scalpel in emotional surgery to rid his self-image of its big nose. Creative imagination is not something reserved for the poets, the philosophers, the inventors. It enters into our every act. Imagination sets the goal picture that our automatic mechanism works on. We act or fail to act not because of will, as is so commonly believed, but because of imagination. This is the most important statement to be gleaned from this entire program. Human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. You cannot long escape or outperform that picture. You can dissect it, analyze it, uncover what is in it that is not true about yourself, and alter it. You can modify it without archaeological examination of the past, but you cannot escape it. You will always act and perform and experience appropriate results in accordance with what you imagine to be true about yourself and your environment. This is a basic and fundamental law of mind. It is the way we are built. When we see this law of mind graphically and dramatically demonstrated in a hypnotized subject, we are prone to think that there is something occult or supernormal at work, or to discredit it as simple stage illusion. Actually, what we are witnessing often is the normal operating process of the human brain and nervous system. For example, if a good hypnotic subject is told that she is at the North Pole, she will not only shiver and appear to be cold, her body will react just as if she were cold, and goose pimples will develop. The same phenomena have been demonstrated on wide-awake college students by asking them to imagine that one hand is immersed in ice water. Thermometer readings show that the temperature drops in the treated hand. Tell a hypnotized subject that your finger is a red-hot poker, and he will not only grimace with pain at your touch, but his cardiovascular and lymphatic systems will react just as if your finger were a red-hot poker and produce inflammation and perhaps a blister on the skin. In one demonstration, when college students, wide awake, have been told to imagine that a spot on their foreheads was hot, temperature readings documented an actual increase in skin temperature. These are elementary experiments just one step away from the rather cruel but common children's game, the practical joke played at school, and sometimes by adults at work. In this prank, a person is secretly targeted by the group. Then one person after another engages the target in conversation, asking, "Aren't you feeling well, Bob? You look pretty white-faced. Bob, are you feeling all right?" Soon, poor Bob is in the restroom checking himself out in the mirror. Before long, Bob is feeling queasy and weak. Bob may even actually become so sick he must lie down or go home. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between an imagined experience and a real one. Your nervous system reacts appropriately to what you think or imagine to be true. This phenomenon that can be produced as a practical joke or by a hypnotist on stage for entertainment is actually identical to or illustrative of the basic process that governs much of our behavior and that can be taken hold of and deliberately used to advantage. How the hypnotic power of negative imagination can be a fatal disease. When I wrote my book for physicians in 1936, New Faces, New Futures, about the impact of plastic surgery on personality, I reprinted in it a newspaper article from a St. Louis newspaper headlined, "Inferiority Complex Caused by Long Nose Drives College Student to Commit Suicide." This article reported the suicide of a 24-year-old student of Washington University named Theodore Hoffman. Ironically, the article reported that those who knew him considered him popular. Here is the text of this young man's suicide note. Quote, "To the world. When I was a child, other children abused and mistreated me because I was weaker and uglier than they. I was a sensitive, bashful boy, and was teased because of my face and long nose. The more they offended me, the more they teased. I became afraid of people. I knew that many of them hated me for things that I was not responsible for, my sentimental nature, and my appearance. I was unable to speak to anyone. My confidence was gone. A teacher spelled my name with 2 F's, although it has only 1. Yet I became so backward I was unable to correct her, and therefore spelled it with 2 F's throughout my school career. God forgive everyone for this. I am afraid of the world, but I'm not afraid to die." Unquote. At the time, a professor at the university judged this to be the most severe case of an inferiority complex ever known. Nonsense. Believe me, this young man's desperation, which first killed his self-image and then led him to take his own life, mirrors the same desperation affecting thousands and thousands of people, and missed entirely or underestimated in importance by the people around them. In fact, suicide among teenagers in recent years has reached epidemic proportions, though rarely discussed in the media. Anorexia is a chilling demonstration of the hypnotic power of negative imagination. In Battling the Inner Dummy, the authors David Weiner and Dr. Gilbert Hefter describe an encounter with a 15-year-old girl, Ellen, shown on the CBS television program 48 Hours in 1998. Ellen weighed only 82 pounds and looked like a sickly child wasting away, but she was firmly convinced she was fat. As a result, she avoided meals, refused to eat, or would even purge herself after eating. In this child's hospital room, the television reporter interviewing Ellen got her to stand in front of a full-length mirror and asked her if she saw how gaunt and weak she looked. "I think I look fat," Ellen insisted. The reporter then tried fact. "But you now weigh only 82 pounds. Do you think that that is a person who is fat?" Ellen sensibly replied, "No." But then she immediately said that she was fat and would grow fatter if she ate. So, determined not to eat, Ellen would pull out the intravenous feeding needles if not closely supervised. For parents, teachers, counselors, and coaches, this should be a cautionary tale, a vivid reminder of the need to be ever vigilant for some young person whose self-image is shrinking so dramatically that self-inflicted physical harm is likely to follow. For all, it is a vivid illustration of the incredible power of imagination. A person can so magnify the importance of some flaw and of the world's response to the flaw with his own negative imagination that he commits suicide. A person can similarly so color her perceptions of her strengths and opportunities with her own positive imagination that she accomplishes the most amazing things. The secret of hypnotic power. In the 1950s, Dr. Theodore Xenophon Barber conducted extensive research into the phenomena of hypnosis, both when he was associated with the Psychology Department of American University in Washington, D.C., and also after becoming associated with the Laboratory of Social Relations at Harvard. Writing in the January 1958 issue of Science Digest, he said, "We found that hypnotic subjects are able to do surprising things only when convinced that the hypnotist's words are true statements. When the hypnotist has guided the subject to the point where he is convinced that the hypnotist's words are true statements, the subject then behaves differently because he thinks and believes differently." The phenomena of hypnosis have always seemed mysterious because it has always been difficult to understand how belief can bring about such unusual behavior. It always seemed as if there must be something more, some unfathomable force or power at work. However, the plain truth is that when a subject is convinced that he is deaf, he behaves as if he is deaf. When he is convinced that he is insensitive to pain, he can undergo surgery without anesthesia. The mysterious force or power does not exist. Unquote. Note that his comments were published in 1958. Today, hypnosis as a tool of therapy is widely accepted and used. For many, hypnosis and self-hypnosis to facilitate weight loss makes the surgical quick fix of liposuction unnecessary. A perfect analogy to my examples of emotional surgery versus actual surgery. In these cases, hypnosis is the scalpel. In dentistry, hypnosis is used to facilitate treatment of the phobic patient with virtually uncontrollable anxiety